Peace. So today is December 24th, 2020. Excuse me. Excuse me. Making today's math 24 or wisdom is 2. 4 is culture freedom. 2 plus 4 is 6. So wisdom and culture freedom showing improving equality. This is wisdom again is the application or the doing, the completing, the utilizing the knowledge with intent. And this intent, of course, is to gain an understanding. This intent, of course, is to gain an understanding of a better understanding of the knowledge. And this knowledge that we speak of is the knowledge of self. So when your actions show and prove that you know yourself, and therefore your culture of life shows and prove that you know yourself, then yourself will be balanced or have equality. You also will show and prove equality outside of yourself when dealing with the world. Because today is the 24th, it is also Christmas Eve. And just really a sidebar. The Eve is like the day before, as far as Christmas Eve, Halloween's Eve, Thanksgiving Eve. It just means the day before. Peace, bro. But when you think of, I used to believe that Eve came first, was always the day before the day of, because in this sense, the feminine principle is first. The passive, the womb, in which the active principle is activated. But really, like in most calendars around the world, the day starts at sunset and goes until sunset, versus how our days seem to go from sunrise to sunrise, when in actuality they all go from midnight to midnight, which is the confusion and the illusion of time. But this being, all right, bro, this being the eve of Christmas, if you haven't already, look into the origins of Christmas and Saturnalia and how they are related. And how they are also related to the solstice that we just passed, this December 21st, that everyone was so worked up about due to the great conjunction between, and they call it the great conjunction as if it is any more than any other conjunction, which is the weird part to me. But always never take anything on face value, whether that be traditions that you grew up with, anything. Don't never take anything at face value. Somebody tell you something, then if they don't show and prove it, then you go show and prove it for yourself. Go see that it is what it is. Never take it at face value. Always face the value, as Inf Maker from Allah School in Mecca on YouTube, as he said. Never take things at face value. Always face the value. That is, weigh and measure it against. And if after doing that you still want to participate, then at least you are not participating in ignorance. You know what you're doing, and therefore you can apply that knowledge, and the knowledge itself will permeate through your culture freedom, bringing forth or showing improvement equality in your cipher, um, or balance. Today's letter would be X for unknown, um, which the unknown is seen as outside of this science. The unknown is seen as something to fear. Um, in this science, anything that is unknown can be known and measured, like I said, at face value. I mean, by facing the value, not at face value, for what it truly is, so that nothing is truly unknown. Um, and just because you are not, or you are new to something, because the difference between whether you're new to something, that's not a excuse to be afraid of it. Because just look at the actual words of new, like brand new, and then new, something that you already knew. When you're new to something, you don't know it, but now you know. So in the future, you knew to whatever was new. It can become known. That is to do the knowledge. You have to do the knowledge with everything. That is why knowledge is the first step. Why knowledge is the first degree, because that is the first thing to do, is to use the truth as a measuring stick or a t-square to see if it's right and exact. And if something is right and exact, and handle it accordingly. And if it's not, then handle it accordingly. The letters, as far as I was doing for today, I believe we are on U for universe, which is spelled capital U and little I verse. That's you and I, which is a reminder that there should be no big I's and no little U's, and not necessarily that there should be any big U's and little I's, but you should always put the greater good, or the greatest good, above the wants of self. The needs of the greater good should always outweigh the wants of the self. In that we find equality. And this again can be illustrated with the math today, 24 being 6. When we know that there is no universe, there's no I without universe, there's no universe without I, but also there's no universe without you. And if there's no universe without I, or no I without universe, and you is there too, there is what would it be if you were here alone, or if everyone was alike, and that way you were still alone? This variety is what makes life special. This ability to choose is the point. Now, whether or not you're choosing with discernment or wisdom, that becomes the question. Because when you are choosing with discernment or wisdom, that means you're applying a knowledge of good and bad, right and wrong, positive and negative, yin and yang, however you want to look at it. When you are choosing with discernment, this becomes it is evident in your way of life, and therefore you are then making it so that way you have the freedom, or the freedom, or the ability to think for oneself, and in doing so you can find your own sense of equality. The total math for today would be 6 and 7 is 13. That is knowledge, understanding, showing, improving, culture freedom. Again, this is when you have this knowledge of self and you've applied it and now gained an understanding or a clear picture of what is reality. When it comes to this knowledge of self, it will permeate through your way of life and in turn give you a sense of freedom. Because excuse me, whether you want to ask any of the religious doctrines or dogmas or schools of thought, all of the ones who hold true because there's a sense of freedom, justice, and equality, even if it is not being lived up to by the people. The actual tenets of the faith are established on freedom, justice, and equality, which is what makes each school of thought so appealing. But the problem is, in this dualistic nature, not understanding the dualism, people pick sides not based on the whole, not based on the understanding of each aspect and how they play on each other, which is not really even picking sides, just going with the force that serves the greater good better. In the sense that we know that the Republican Party and the Democratic Party, first of all, started from the same party, but also flipped sides at one point, and are really two heads of the same monster. The question is, are you going to engage with the monster? Are you going to go vote? Are you going to pick a side? Or do you engage the monster and pick independent, or just don't claim a party and just vote on every issue for what it is and not for which party is presenting it? Which of course will be the best way if you ask me, to engage in the political system. And honestly, even though I have been the type to not engage, I don't think that is the smartest option, because this system exists. To ignore it or to withdraw from it is not going to overthrow it or overcome it or dismantle it, because at the end of the day, someone will always be there to participate, so it will still be afloat. So I do believe that now the best option or the best route to change, if you want to make a political change, would be to go into politics. If you want to make a legal change, it will be to go into law. If you want to make a spiritual change, it will be to find spirituality and go into a school of thought that is of spirituality. And again, if you want to go deeper into self, then maybe all of these things are necessary, to reflect and go inward, to hold yourself accountable. And again, I believe that I attest that these mathematics and alphabets are true principles and values and real things that exist and correlate to how we exist in conjunction with the universe. Because again, you are the universe is you. But peace, wisdom, culture, freedom, equality, and power to all the people.